Hello. I am done with Regency. For now. Who knows where I might be in a year? I might decide to make something more complicated. Let's pray that day never comes. So because I'm done with this, all the Regency projects, I get to work on this pile of stuff I've been wanting to work on since December. Yes, I do plan all of my videos that far ahead. And I usually don't give myself room for contingency. So we gotta get on this. So years ago, my husband and I were stuck at home, COVID, and I was watching The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. He was in the other room playing video games as usual. And watching Midge flouncing around New York in her really cute outfits and seeing the hats, the purses, the shoes, everything, people walking past her in just as cute clothes. I was incredibly jealous. I looked at my closet, and I didn't start crying, but I kind of wanted to because my closet was sad, and I didn't like it. So I decided in that moment, I like that. I could make those clothes for myself. What a novel idea. So I rushed into the living room, told my husband, hey, I want to dress like a 1950s lady, and I want to overhaul my entire closet to match. That man was more excited, I think, than I had seen him in a while. So we both went to our closets and got rid of a bunch of the more modern pieces and kept stuff that kind of worked. So for the past 4, almost 5 years, I have been experimenting with hair, makeup, clothing to try to find my happy medium of 1950s fashion and vintage clothing, if that makes sense. If you decide to do this for yourself, I have 3 quick bits of advice. 1, don't throw away your entire closet just because you think something's going to work for you. I can't tell you how many times I have gone from wearing 1950s wear to modern clothing because the convenience of one versus the other. I don't always want to wear the corset with the dress, with the petticoat, with everything. Some days I don't want to wear cigarette pants and a cute sweater. Some days I just want to wear sweatpants. Case in point, I'm wearing pajama bottoms and a knit shirt. And yeah, I look cute, but that's because the hair and the makeup is done today. But I'm not in vintage. I'm not in 1950s wear. 2, depending on the decade, era you choose, you can really play with your silhouette and play with your expression of who you are, because there's everything from trousers to skirts to everything in between pretty much every single decade. And even though every decade had a specific goal body type, there are ways to fudge, let me tell you. And the 3rd thing, for the love of God, be kind to yourself. Don't try to go out to a vintage shop that sells authentic vintage because it's not necessary to have a vintage aesthetic. You don't have to go and spend $500 on a Chanel suit if it doesn't make you happy, if it doesn't look good on you. That's why if you know what your body type is, if you know what you're comfortable in, it's much easier to fall into those kind of molds and those cookie cutter molds that they've thrown at us for the longest time. I don't look good in a blazer. I don't. And I don't want to. I have like 2 kind of soft blazers that I will wear over like a dress if I have an event that I have to go to. But I am not wearing 1,000 suits every single day. I have a lot more dresses and skirts and tops. Like, I'm a mix and match kind of girl. I don't want a suit. I don't. But if you do, then that's one thing you can lean on, is that you prefer structure. So you really have to know what you like, what you don't. And vintage is a really great place to experiment and figure out, well, I do prefer a 90s blazer over an 80s blazer. I like the way that the skirts were cut in the 40s versus the 50s. And then you mix it all together into your own aesthetic, which is great. Clearly, I like flowers. So that is a big thing that goes through all of my stuff. If you're going to go through a process like this, you have to be kind to yourself and be gentle, because if you're unhappy in your clothing, you're not going to be confident. You can't go about your life if you're upset in your clothing. So please be gentle with yourself. Now, that being said, I have learned what works for me, and I am slowly replacing some of the more modern pieces I don't wear anymore with pieces I make or pieces I buy, because occasionally I do find something more vintage that I do enjoy and do like. But I am slowly going through that process. I'm still replacing modern clothing. I still buy modern clothing at resale places and vintage places to supplement some of the clothing that I've had for a long time. As much as I love t-shirts and jeans, they don't love me. With all that random intro knowledge in mind, I'm making this. Specifically, I'm making F. I just really love the sleeves. It's really cute. Now, the pattern's not vintage, but the fabric is. I'm not sure if it's 90s or 80s, but to my memory, this top sheet sat in a cupboard in my childhood bedroom from the time we moved in 1997. I think it moved from one of my sister's rooms to that cupboard at some point, but it's very Laura Ashley if Laura Ashley liked more saturated colors. I love this. So for anybody who has seen my Sophie Hatter cosplay video or went to Instagram and saw the pictures, I'll put something here so you can kind of see. This was my backdrop. And the reason I picked it for that backdrop was because it reminds me of the field that they use to supply the flower shop later. You know, the scene where Howell tells Selphie that she's beautiful and her self-confidence is so garbage that she turns back into an old lady because that's her superpower, is turning back into an old lady because she has BS self-confidence. We don't like that here, okay? Yeah. That field. So that's the fabric. As for the pattern, so I got this pattern at Joann's years ago when I worked there, and I just thought it was really cute. And it was a Vogue. I never used a Vogue before, and of course now I have used it because I found some really cute fabric that was this almost this exact print, where it was varying stripes of white and blue. And my husband and I were going to Disneyland with some friends, and he was going to wear his seersucker suit with a boater hat. And I was like, well, I kind of want to match. Like, I want to go all cute. And I wanted an excuse to make a more vintagey dress. So, picture here, I made it. And I loved it. And it's one of my favorite pieces in my closet. I typically wear it just to Disney. I've worn it out 1 or 2 times, but I love it. And it is a piece that I wear to Disney now every single time. I even made mouse ears to match because what could be more vintage than having matching accessories? Now, that being said, I just want this dress to go in my closet so that I can work through some of the fabric that I have, because I have a big stash, and I keep telling myself I'm going to make a this out of this, and it sits in a closet. So we're going to try to work through it. This is the first one I'm working through. Now, even though this pattern is not vintage or doesn't say vintage, it has the vintage silhouette that I use for my body type that I like, which is the more wider shoulder with the cinched in waist and a bigger skirt. So if I want, I can throw a petticoat underneath, I can put a sweater over it, I can put a big chunky belt, add the accessories to make it feel more vintage. And given that I'm using a vintage fabric, it all just kind of marries together. So today's goal, hopefully, because I actually got up early for this, is about 10:30. So I might have enough time to sew this thing all in one go, beginning to end, and then work on something else. If I work on something else, I mean go play Genshin Impact, because I've been dying to play. So let's get into it.
Sorry, real quick thing. Funny enough, I was cutting the edges off where like the top and the bottom of the sheet are, which are usually, you know, roll hemmed, and I found the tag. And this is a field crest from the Perfection line, I guess. Look at that. And it has the measurements for this, as well as what it's made out of. It's a 50-50 poly cotton. I kind of want to sew this in the dress now because that's just kind of a cute little thing. I might do that later. Anyway, totally sidetracked. But if you didn't see on the little tag, this sheet is 81 inches by 104 inches wide. So it's not going to be the same size as a traditional bolt of fabric. That being said, I just went over the pieces. So we have some of the pieces here, but there are 3 pattern pieces for the skirt. There's a front panel that gets cut in a fold, and then there's a skirt side panel, and then there is a back panel. The skirt side panel says to cut 4. Okay. 4 of lining as well, double K. And then the back piece wants you to cut 2. So that's, if we're doing some basic math, 4 plus 2 is 6, plus the panel on the front is 7. It's a 7-panel skirt. I don't know if I'm going to have enough fabric to do the whole thing in the pieces as it requests. So we're going to see how this goes. I am going to cut this part out because if you can't already tell, I already have my front bodice pieces. So my problem area already taken care of because again, I've already worked in this pattern before, so I have my prep ready to go. So this should be pretty quick. I need some wood, hang on. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the big pieces I need. Sleeves, the cap sleeve thing, bodice, and I'm probably gonna cut the pockets out of something else because I like having a nice little contrast pocket. So I'm gonna see if I have any fabric that's a similar blue, green, or pink, and go from there. So this will probably be a different piece. But I'm gonna cut out these pieces, make sure I have enough space, and then I'm probably gonna toss this skirt I'm probably gonna toss the rest of the sheet on the floor and then lay out the rest of the skirt pieces so I can make sure I have enough room for all the panels because that's a big skirt. It's a big skirt. So, we'll see. Pardon me, I'm going to talk as I put my hair up because multitasking. Now, traditionally, with patterns, especially ones that involve the upper body of any kind, you normally start with the torso of the piece to sew. That's just average, normal, kind of the standard. I haven't started sewing yet, but I'm gonna try to explain this a little bit as I go because I know that this is not normal. So instead of just saying, oh, I followed the instructions, I'm gonna try to explain the backwards way my brain is doing this. So I have my lining pieces cut out. Beautiful periwinkle, I guess. I don't know. I'm a little colorblind, so purpley blue, periwinkle, I don't know. Anyway, pocket. So with the sleeves, I picked F because it has the cute little like, how is that? Quarter sleeve, half sleeve, and then it has a fun little, I don't know, circle of fabric down there at the bottom. So 2 things I've already done differently, because it's me. I did not cut the sleeves where it said to on this. Because it says here to cut on center fold here, it doesn't indicate that this needs to be a center fold either. I haven't looked through the directions, mostly because I usually ignore it anyway. But here's my thought process. I think this would be really pretty as kind of an inner sleeve. So if I raise my hands and the sleeve skirt, we're gonna call it a sleeve skirt for now. What is this technically called? What is this piece? What is this? Ruffle. That's the word, it's a ruffle. So that when the ruffle falls back,
that this part will show because that's really pretty. And it's a nice complementary color that goes with the rest of the dress. So you get why I'm doing this kind of. Here's why I did it this way. My idea is to stitch the lining to the outer garment, right sides together, along with the sleeves. So do the sleeve, stitch the ruffle to the bottom of it, then put them right sides together and stitch all the way around the perimeter, clip around, and then turn it right side out, where the lining is on the inside and the outer pretty stuff is on the outside. That way I have a much easier hem to deal with than trying to hem a circle. It's amazing what your brain does to compensate when you don't want to do something your brain deems hard. Maybe it's not you, maybe it's just me, but my brain doesn't want to hem this. I don't want to. I don't even want to serge it and add, bias tape to it, because that would also make sense. No. I have to do it the hard way, because let me tell you, roll hemming a circle makes my brain want to bleed. So I'm gonna do it sleeves, and then I'm gonna sew them to the torso linings, and then I'm gonna turn it right side out. Hopefully. So the sleeves are done. The first way I did it was wrong, but I've perfected how this is to be done if you want to have all of this like a normal seam where everything is sewn on the inside. What you do is you sew the sleeve together at the under seam right here, which would be the seam that goes under your arm here. Then you gather the inner circle of the ruffle, and once it's gathered to the, to the circumference of the bottom part of the sleeve, you would put them right sides together and stitch all the way around. If you didn't see that footage, go back. And then you do the same thing to the lining. Then with the right sides facing together, so the sleeve part here, they'll both be kind of just jumbled on the inside with the sleeve all the way on the outside, and then you'll stitch all the way around, and then you basically turn it right side out when you're done. You might use a different kind of lining if you decide to do it my way. The easier way to do this is to have just hemmed it, but you know me, I can't do it easy. So now I have to figure out how to put these in the dress. So we're gonna see how this works. there. I'm gonna quickly try the dress on. I already had to fix the sleeve, but it's mostly done. The only things I have left are the hem, finishing the inside, and putting the zipper in, which I already have the perfect zipper, so love that. So I'm gonna take this off. I'm wearing a slip underneath, don't worry, I'm decent. Well, I'll say, pastel. Hold on a moment. Okay, we're gonna take this onto the thing. There's definitely some finishing that needs to be done, including ironing. I really should have ironed as I went, but I never do, so I'm not in the habit of it. Again, the zipper needs to be put in. I'm trying to feel for where the edges are. Yeah, so everything's lining up where it needs to. Again, I need to trim and clip some seams, but let me put you down on the floor so you can see the full thing. So this is what we're working with. It's very vintage. It's giving more like, I don't know if it is 50s or more 60s, but I'm thinking with like a big old petticoat underneath to push this out a bit. I'll wear my corset underneath it just to give it a bit more shape. And then I'm thinking like a big chunky blue belt and like a little matching, I don't know, hat and little clutch, I'm not sure. But these sleeves are giving, like, look at this. I love that little pop of blue, super cute. It's about 8:30 now, and the dress is 85% there with just a few small things to do. I'm trying to decide if I should do it tonight, given that I do have like an hour and some change left. But I don't know. I have been trying my hardest to push myself to finish it, and I feel like I should take a break. But I've also been taking frequent breaks to rest. So let me walk you guys through a little bit of what I've done so far though. So the conundrum with attaching the sleeves to the rest of the dress, because everything else was obviously in pieces, was a little weird. So I went ahead and just did the outside base first and then attached it to the sleeves. So I did all the torso pieces here and the back and sewed them all together. And then I sewed them to the sleeves, which were of course already assembled here. So of course I attached this cap sleeve here to the top of the sleeve. All of the torso pieces were together, and so I just stitched these and these together. Did the same thing for the lining. And then when everything was sewed to the pieces, I was able to manipulate it to where I could turn it wrong side out, if that makes sense, and stitch around the collar. So I got everything I wanted, which is amazing. Now I just have to do the hard part, which is finishing it. Are you ready for the reveal? Ta-da! It's done. And it is a frolicking dress. It's the only way I can describe it. It's positively feminine. I love the surprise color pop in the ruffle. I think it's super fun. I don't think I needed to do the full lining in this out of this. I could have done something a bit lighter just to offset how much this does fit. And let me tell you, it fits. Like, let's get into the critique. So things I did differently as far as construction. One, I forgot to put in the pockets. Might do that later, might not. I'm actually, controversial as it may seem, I'm not a pockets person. I would rather have the excuse to have a cute purse or buy myself a new lounge fly than have to have something constantly in my pockets, especially when I make things like this that are a bit lighter. I don't want to have the heaviness of a phone weighing down one side of my skirt and weighing down my seams. I don't like that. So I forgot to do that. I really should have pressed everything as I was sewing the garment. However, I hate pressing, I really do. Maybe it's PTSD from working at Nordstrom and having to press all day long. Maybe I just hate being hot when it's already 82 degrees outside in Texas. I really couldn't tell you the reason why I hate it. I just don't like ironing. So it's possibly that. But needless to say, I should have really pressed everything as I was going and made sure all of my seams were pressed flat and made sure everything looked seamless, for lack of a better term. A couple things I did differently in comparison to the pattern was obviously starting with the sleeves and then going to the skirt. Typically when you're doing construction garments like this for a dress, you start with the bodice pieces and then you go and attach it to the skirt, and usually the sleeves are either before the skirt or after the skirt. It really just depends. Because of the way I did this, because I didn't want to deal with top stitching all of this circle madness, and I did not want to roll hem this, no, wasn't doing it, didn't care. I would rather make it complicated. I had to do something to make it complicated, otherwise it wouldn't be a me project. But that being said, starting with the sleeves, if you want it, you can skip back to where that sleeve portion is and watch me try to do it a few hundred times. But the sleeves, once I figured out how they need to be done, I did actually have to deconstruct this sleeve because the lining and the outside were twisted. And as I was putting it on, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, and I realized, oh, they were twisted. So, something I had to learn. Don't think I really cared to learn it, but here I am. From the sleeves, moved on to the bodice so that I could see how everything would attach. Went from the bodice to the skirt. Guys, a skirt is a skirt. When you've done one, a skirt forever in your life, absolute cake. Absolute cake. The hem was probably the easiest part because I used a specific hem foot meant for roll hemming. I got it from Husqvarna Viking, this sewing gallery I used to work with. And it's this spin savior whenever I just don't care to sit there and have to hem and roll and hem and roll and hem and roll and hem and pay attention to it, and I'm just done with the project. But I used that and it was a godsend. The zipper, I did a trick I learned years ago. I don't know if I saw it on Instagram or Pinterest or where, but I saw somebody who took their zipper and where the waistband line is, they took a pencil and they drew where it was supposed to be on one side with a teeth to the other side, so that whenever you're sewing back the other direction, if you're a psychopath like me and you just sew down one way, turn it, and zip down the other way, yes, that's an option you can do. If you want me to make a tutorial of it, please comment below and I will make a short or something for it. But it's a whole thing where you zip, you do one side of the zipper and then you just turn it around and zip the other side. But it allows you to see on that zipper line where that waistband is supposed to be so that you can line up that spot with the other side of the waist. Apologies, I am sweating like a sinner in church and I am just, my AC is on and it is Texas weather, so it is already 80 degrees and this is a lined dress, so I'm already sweltering. But let's go ahead and do some quick final thoughts on the pattern. Oh heavens. Alright, would I ever use this pattern again? Yes, this is actually my second time using this pattern to make a dress, so obviously I love this pattern. I still say, because it's a Vogue easy pattern, that I would highly recommend having sewn a couple things first, just because dresses can be tricky. This pattern was one since I have worked with it before, I definitely already had my strange areas, if you would, already fixed. I already had my bust redone. I already had those pieces I needed to let this dress fit me properly. I already had them done. That was already something I could quickly just pull this pattern out, make something out of the 7 or maybe C, D, E, F, the 6 or 7 different kinds of pattern pieces I can use to make any kind of dress. Does this dress feel vintagey? It really does. My husband said it actually looked very, 1950s. I would argue more 1960s just because of the pattern with the pastels and more fitted waist. At the same time, it does feel kind of new look. For a gown made out of sheets, I'm rather impressed. Sad to say, as I was sewing, I did notice that there were some holes holes, and I tried my best to sew around them and cut around them, but I'm more than likely going to have to, as I'm ironing, maybe do some quick repairs. I thought about some beadwork, probably not going to happen. Maybe some embroidery. I might just do some interfacing and just kind of patch over the holes, because there's nothing cuter than wearing a little patchwork dress. And I think that if I patched this in like light purples and pinks, I'm sorry if the fan is distracting, but it needs to happen. It's hot. Any recommendations I have to people who've never sewn like this before, never sewn this specific pattern before: make a mock-up of the torso. And if you decide to do the pencil skirt option, definitely make a pencil skirt just so you can see how it fits on your body. I recommend making a mock-up out of similar fabric. If you decide to make a mock-up, I obviously do not, and I am happy that I do not, because oh dear Lord. No. Well, if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up below. That way I know if you actually liked it or not, so I can make more content like this. If you want me to go back to Regency, I will beg you kindly, please don't make me go back. Please don't. It's beautiful, but it's not for a while. If you have any comments, concerns, praise for me, questions, snarky and anecdotes, or just advice for somebody else, or advice for me, or just want to say hi, drop it in the comments below. I love seeing it. I love seeing you guys comment things. If you want to be alerted to whenever I put out my next video, which should be in a couple weeks, please click the subscribe button and click the alert bell so that you can be alerted to when my next video comes out. I am going to go hang this lovely dress up and add it to my collection of kind of vintagey clothing. A question for those of you who are in the comments: is it working with the hair? I know my makeup is kind of dark today, but I can't tell if I made like a springy dress and that I'm actually in autumn. I don't know. If you have any thoughts about that, please drop it down in the comments, because I'm still trying to figure it out. But I'm gonna go put this up. I'm gonna go have a cold bucket of water, I guess, to drink, and I'm gonna edit this video so that you guys can see it, because I'm having fun, and yeah, I'm excited for my next project. It's gonna be super fun, and it's gonna be another vintagey one. So thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day, night, week, weekend, whatever time you're watching this. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Bye. It's seriously so hot. This dress is so pretty, but I think I made a mistake with the lining. At least I actually lined it this time. Usually I don't like to mess with the lining. Oh my god. Hot, hot, hot. Note to self, this dress does not need to ever have a sweater with it. Does this dress need... I think this dress needs a belt. You know, I think this dress does need like a really thick, chunky belt. Something to just add that color. Did anybody notice that I painted my nails to match the blue of the sleeves and of the dress? No? Just me doing it for myself anyway? How dare you suggest such a thing? Okay, I need to actually edit this, because otherwise I'm not going to get it done.